Sidechains run in parallel to a mainnet such as Cardano and connects to it via bridges. It can provide additional benefits, most notably scaling and also value coming into the ecosystem via these bridges. dcSpark has just launched its sidechain called Milkomeda for the Cardano ecosystem, and I have Nicolas Arqueros joining me on this episode to talk all about Milkomeda, exactly how it works, the developing tooling and everything that they've built out for this ecosystem so that developers can start using their sidechain, come over from Ethereum, wherever it might be, and use Solidity dApps and build out on the ecosystem there. If you haven't heard much about Milkomeda or you're still a little bit confused about it, that's okay, because Nico breaks down everything in the simplest form that he could to really get an understanding of what they're trying to achieve. Now, if you do want a really good overview of Milkomeda, check out the video that Cardano with Paul did on his channel, where he talks all about these different aspects as well. Nico also talks about the Accelerator program that they've just started as well. So if you want help getting into the EVM sidechain on Milkomeda and have some experience and tap into the knowledge of dcSpark and the entire team there, but also dLabs, a decentralized accelerator by SOSV, a venture capital firm where they can help you with a lot of these aspects in regards to business, getting seed funding, and having the right connections in the ecosystem to build up on this sidechain on Cardano and then tap into the Cardano ecosystem as well. So let's get into this interview.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast.
I have Nicolas Arqueros joining me on this episode from the team at dcSpark to talk about their new product which they've just launched called Milkomeda. Nico, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Pete. Hi, everyone.
So just to give a little bit of clarity and understanding of who we're talking to, Nico, could you please give us a bit of description and background about yourself and also a little bit about dcSpark?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Nico. I'm the CEO of dcSpark, and we are one of the core developers of the Milkomeda protocol. We are going to probably jump into that, but a little bit of my background. I started coding when I was like 13 years old, and I was like translating video games for Super Nintendo. My native language is Spanish, so I was translating from English to Spanish, so you could play with an emulator like video games in Spanish.
That's so cool.
I also was creating some scripts using C, and so it was kind of cool. And later on, I studied electrical engineering with business, but I always been like coding, so that's cool. And I moved to the US like 10 years ago, and I was working for multiple startups in Silicon Valley until like I got fully convinced about blockchain and crypto. So I went all in, and I joined this company called Emurgo. After a few months, I became the CTO of Emurgo, and I was able to bring to sort of create their dev department. And my first hire is this really promising developer called Sebastian Guillemot. And now he's my co-founder and partner at dcSpark. And I was the CTO of Emurgo, and we, together with Seba, we created Yoroi in their good times when it was pretty good. We also created the mobile apps. Seba was leading everything that related to the Cardano serialization library. I also was leading dLabs for the acceleration of startups. I also worked with IOHK and in Ergo to develop some stuff in Ergo. For example, it's called, oh my gosh, my memory, the digital version for Ergo, which is Sigma USD. So I also was part of that. And also was one of the board members of the Cardano Foundation until last year.
That is quite a resume. That is quite a resume that you've got there. A lot of experience and a lot of wealth of knowledge, especially in the Cardano ecosystem. And, I have to thank you, I think, on a part of the Cardano community for contributing so much and working so much in it to take it to where Cardano is at the moment. So it's a pleasure to have you on and learn a little bit more from you as well. Now, you've just launched Milkomeda. So first off, congratulations on that. It
Thank you.
couldn't have been easy. It's not every day that you launch a sidechain or essentially a blockchain and get people onboarded and using it. What was the process like in launching? Like, what was it stressful? Did you have everything planned out? How was it all?
So usually I started like, oh, we want to do this, and we started like trying to implement it, and then there's like what we call the discovery process. Oh, we are missing this specific tool, or we also need to develop this thing that we didn't know that we were supposed to develop. So it's like a rabbit hole that as we were like going further, we realized that we were like needing all this tooling, all this other stuff. So yeah, it was interesting, but you get to a point that like, okay, I think we finally know everything now. We really need to like be able to develop this, and then everything's like straight up. And it has been really fun because see something that was just an idea to come up live, and now we have users using it and saying like, oh, it works like pretty good. It's pretty fast. It's like pretty amazing.
It seemed like a very quick process to develop Milkomeda, but I'm sure it wasn't. It seemed like only yesterday, like sometime last year, that it was announced that you guys were working at dcSpark to create this. Well, what was the development timeline like? It seemed like you managed to do it in under 8 months.
Yeah, so probably it's like 6 months.
6 months, okay, even faster.
And but a lot of the stuff, for example, me, Seba, we already knew it from, also Rob Konaki or other co-founder. We already knew a lot of that because we had been working with Cardano beforehand. And also we had to grow the team, grow the company, and we got some great people, like, for example, Nicolas Arqueros, who was one of the lead developers for Jorgen Gander, which was the first version of like proof of stake for Cardano. Also Rinor, who was the platform engineer for that project. And also we got support from dLabs and dLabs. So also that was like pretty cool to be able to grow the team, but it required a lot of like previous knowledge about the Cardano ecosystem to be able to like actually pull these times.
Yeah, totally understand. It's a huge wealth of knowledge in the ecosystem in general to actually make this happen. Yeah, okay, totally understand. Okay, so for people that are still new to Cardano and now only just heard of Milkomeda, what does Milkomeda do and how does it benefit Cardano specifically? Yeah,
so basically Milkomeda is this protocol that allows you to run Ethereum dApps in this sidechain that uses ADA. So Milkomeda is an extension of Cardano that runs using ADA, and you can bring like any dApp from Ethereum. Even further, you can bring dApps from Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, or anything that's EVM compatible, which is like the Ethereum built-on machine.
That's crazy. So there's a lot of stuff on all these other chains already. A lot of things are already pre-built, a lot of GitHub repositories, a lot of code that's out there that people can just essentially pick up because it's open source and then launch it on Milkomeda. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And but at the same time, we don't want to be just copy-paste. So everyone that's going to launch in Milkomeda, we are asking for like, oh, what is your value proposition? What are you doing? Still, we are like an open network, but we have heard about like teams that we don't feel very confident in sort of like promoting, so we don't promote them, but they still can build. But everyone else that we have been like sort of like mentioning Twitter and all other social media is actually teams that are like doing at least something different. So maybe they started with like some base from something for Ethereum, but they are building on top of that rather than to just copy paste.
Gotcha. Okay. So are you seeing a lot of projects on Ethereum or other chains wanting to come over and migrate their projects over to Milkomeda and just be a part of that ecosystem there? Because you must be getting a lot of applications and whatnot right now of people wanting to use the chain. Is that right?
Yeah, there is a lot of interest, and mostly something that people realize is that particularly maybe the Cardano technology is kind of like alien technology. It's very strange, But when they really value the Cardano community and they see like that the community is like, I know, it's there, interacts, and it's like pretty strong. So a lot of projects, they see value in Cardano, but they see even more value in the community. It's like, oh, we want to be part of this community. And that's why they're like reaching out, because they want like how we can get to Cardano because of the community, and sometimes not so much about the tech itself, because most likely they're not going to be learning Haskell, but they want to still like use the project that maybe is like already working in one of the other chains and expand to Cardano as well.
I did find the step from moving over to Cardano in general and developing on it is quite hard, because it's a brand new language. Plutus, Haskell, it's a little bit different. It's a different level of thinking. So I guess I'm assuming a lot of developers, when they're building something and they want to integrate into Cardano, they have to learn all that. So bringing over all these brand new developers that are wanting to tap into the ecosystem and the community, like you said, but allowing them to build on the EVM side of things is hugely beneficial. But on the flip side, how do like dApps that build on Plutus and Haskell at the moment, how they tap into Milkomeda and use the sidechain for scalability or speeding up their applications? How does that connection work from the Cardano side to the Milkomeda side?
Yeah, so it could work through two different ways. So even projects that are never going to develop in Solidity or anything related to Ethereum, and they're part of Cardano, they still could benefit from Milkomeda a lot. And I can give you like a practical example. So for example, you have a DEX in Cardano, and right now you are very limited in the amount of assets that you can have, and particularly even like stable coins. So through Milkomeda and the connection of Milkomeda now with Ethereum, Avalanche, and all this other ecosystem, we can bring assets like USDC, USDT to the Milkomeda ecosystem, and then from the Milkomeda ecosystem move them to Cardano. So we can like bring all these stable coins, and they can be part of like these DEXs or maybe other dApps that are building on top of using Plutus. And they're going to benefit from this. And also the other way around, maybe some projects in Cardano, they want to like, oh, our project's really cool. And also we want our token to be available in other DEXs out there. So they can also move the tokens to Milkomeda and furthermore to other chains as well. And that's pretty cool, because we have seen that there is like this network of networks, and it's part of like the Cardano vision, which is called interoperability, that from Cardano we can connect to all these other chains. So if you start like, for example, you really like Haskell, you just want to have your project Haskell, and it's like a good project, and you built it using Plutus, maybe you develop in Cardano, but then the token you can export into other parts, to the ecosystem, and still like other people that like your project can benefit from that.
Interoperability is one of those key things that everyone's after as well. And we're just, I guess, now seeing that happen on Cardano. It's really exciting to see. So what type of projects are actually building on Milkomeda at the moment? What should we be expecting? What should we look out for? What projects should we play around with, essentially?
We had to think, because like there's so many different type of projects, but some projects require other projects, and that project requires other projects. So we had to first like step out and see like what are like the most critical components that we need in the ecosystem, so the projects can start building on top of that. So although we wanted something that maybe is like really exciting, we need to get like the critical components first. So the first one, for example, they're called bridges. So they are interconnecting Milkomeda with other networks. And right now we have Nomad, which is like an amazing bridge. There is other two bridges. The other one is called Multichain Accelerator, that also like are pretty well known. So once we have the bridges, we are going to have assets, and we can bring assets from Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, and others to Milkomeda. And also we can bring assets from Cardano itself to Milkomeda. So what we can do with those assets, DEXs. So that was like the next step, to be able to bring DEXs, so we can start like having more interactivity with the different projects. And what is going to come after that? So we are like looking at games, stable coins that are going to be a part of the Milkomeda chain itself, like algorithmic stablecoins, also what is called money market. So basically, you're going to be able to lend assets and get APY for your asset, which is different from something that sometimes you do with DEXs, because in DEXs, sometimes you need to provide two assets and the way that DEXs work. And we have seen this also in Cardano mainnet. But for money markets, maybe you just provide one asset, USDC, and maybe you're going to be getting an APY of like 2 or 3%. Because in the other side, maybe someone wants to ask for a loan, and maybe they have ADA and they want some USDC, and they're going to be paying like, I don't know, 5%. So the protocol keeps a little bit of the percentage, and the other percentage is trespassed to the people that have provided that specific asset. So this started making like the entire ecosystem a little bit more interesting, because there's like more dynamics and you can find some things that are like a little bit more interesting. But also we're looking at games, and hopefully we want to have some surprises in the next 2 months.
Surprises. I love surprises. I'm looking really excited to like it's all these little blocks that you're piecing together on the chain there, so that we can have more utility out of it, I guess. Now, there's a couple of things that you touched on there. One was the bridges. Now, there are many hacks that happens across these bridges. Like Wormhole was a massive one that happened, the Ethereum to Solana bridge that happened, I think, a couple of months ago.
Yep.
What is the security like across the Milkomeda, these bridges at the moment? Have they been highly audited? Are they very secure? What kind of reassurances can you give users that are thinking about using this to avoid situations like what we saw with these other bridge hacks that we've seen recently?
Yep. So the first bridge, and it's the main bridge, is from Cardano to Milkomeda. And this bridge was built for the Milkomeda protocol. And this one has 2 different audits from like 2 different like really well-known companies, and also everyone in the team, like Seba, me, Nicolas Arqueros, and everyone was like checking everything. So we are like pretty confident in this main bridge, and the security properties are like pretty simple. So this is the first bridge, and like I said, like it's not enough for you to put a lot of thoughts, but also like to bring external auditors. For the other bridges that are connecting, for example, Milkomeda with Ethereum and other chains, and these are made by third-party companies. And usually what you want is that a project is like serious, that they also have done multiple audits, and that also they have a good enough like TVL, total value log. So for example, for the case of Wormhole, they already had like an audit. It's like a serious company behind it that's called Jam Crypto. Jam Crypto is one of like the biggest companies in the world about like trading for like market making. So when this hack happened, the company is so big that actually said like, we really care about our reputation. We really care about this project. So we are going to cover the losses. So they bring the money there. So also, that's why it's like really important to also know what is the company behind it, because nothing is like unhackable at the end. And especially when you're doing updates. So maybe you had like a version that was like really robust, but then you start doing some updates. Maybe in an update, you introduce a bug. So it's like really, really complicated. In general, I think like it's better to distribute the risk. What do this means? That sometimes you want to, not just use one bridge, but use different ones that they seem very strong. So it's like the same way that sometimes you don't just use one bank, you use multiple banks to like spread your money, because like if something happened with that bank, like the risk is like distributed. But at the end of the day, I will tell everyone to be like careful and never like put too much and in bridges, because there's always like maybe this thought that something could happen. Although I think like the technology for bridges is like improving substantially. And for example, the new technology that, for example, Nomad is using is like much better than other type of bridges, because the first type of bridges are just validators, and usually you have 2 or 3 validators, which is like not great. Then you go, which is like very, very centralized. Then you go to the next one, which is called a multi-sig. It's when you have a bigger group of validators, and maybe at least 66% of them, they need to concur for something to happen and move assets. That's better, but still could have some issues. And the last one is more of like the optimistic approach, which what Nomad took, and between all the different like security properties of like the different approaches for bridging, the one from Nomad is like really, really good.
Wow. Okay. I didn't understand those approaches before, but thank you for explaining that. And I think a lot of people would get a lot out of that. So that gives me some reassurance there. Now, when protocols like Milkomeda or other chains, whatever it is, or the bridges, when they do patches and updates to the protocol, is it general practice to do additional audits after that? So when you roll out a new patch update, you get to your auditing partners, whatnot, to have a look at the code again. Is that the general practice? Is that what's done?
Yeah. So for example, we did 2 audits for Milkomeda, and one was from arbitrary execution that already is like publicly available with the blog post of the launch, and the next one is with Certic. So the first version, we had like some improvements to do. There was nothing like to worry about, which is like very good to know. There's always like things that could be like, oh, just in case, do this. So for example, I don't know, if you have a door and you have one log, maybe someone is going to tell you, oh, put a second one, and also maybe put the eye to see who it is. So it's like some things like not something that had like a problem, but extra security properties, which are like always good. And so after like addressing all of those changes, the auditors checked the code again, and then we did the update of the code. So usually what we will expect that in general, before doing any other update, we will have enough changes so we can go through like a third party that's like an expert in security, so they can take a look and also make sure that we didn't miss anything, and then we will like do an update.
Very cool. Okay, understood. That should give a lot of people a better understanding of that process and how the audits work. It's a bit of a topic that's been going around on Twitter at the moment as well. Have these protocols or whatnot been audited, and how safe do you feel? And is that audit actually public as well, so people can read through it? So it's multiple different things that people want to check. Okay, so we know a lot about the development side of things from a developer's point of view as well. But now what I'm trying to understand is, you talked a little bit about before with the swapping over from ADA to Milkomeda and whatnot. I'm trying to visage now the user experience and how people would actually flow through to Milkomeda from either chain, whether it's from Cardano moving over to Milkomeda and then back again, and then also from the other side when they're moving from Ethereum to Milkomeda and then maybe over to Cardano and then all the way back again. So I'm trying to visualize how that flow will work. And it sounds like a lot of bridges, a lot of steps to take to get from one ecosystem to another. Can you explain the best way you can how that's going to work so that people can help visualize that entire process?
Yeah, and like you said, I completely agree, and sometimes it could be like confusing. That's why also we were not only working in Milkomeda, as we were working in Flint. Flint is a wallet for a Web3 wallet, so you can interact with dApps, but it's not only for Cardano. We are also expanding Flint to support EVM. So that means that's going to support Milkomeda and Ethereum, and this is going to make everything easier because you're going to have one wallet where you can see all your different assets, no matter in which network they are. And also we are going to allow you to move the assets from one network to the other one without having to go to an external web page or another. So like usability is like super important if we actually want to have like adoption. And also not only we are working in Milkomeda, but we're also working in Flint to try to address those topics. Currently, if you are in Cardano and you want to move to Milkomeda, we recommend using Flint. Also, Nami probably should be ready or is close to be ready for support to also move assets to Milkomeda, and you're going to be able to move assets to Milkomeda quite easily. Once you're in Milkomeda, you will have to use another wallet for now. Most likely you are going to have to use MetaMask, which is like the go-to wallet for everything related to interaction with dApps in Ethereum and EVM compatible chains. And that's going to allow you to move in Milkomeda. For example, if you are in Ethereum and you want to move assets to Milkomeda, you will have to use, again, MetaMask, but you will have to go to an external webpage, one of the different pages for like the bridges. So you are going to have Nomad, multi-chain, Seller, maybe some other more, and you're going to be able to move assets from all these different chains to Milkomeda. And then we have the next case, the last one, which is like, okay, I moved some assets, for example, USDC, which is a stable coin pegged to the US dollar from Ethereum to Milkomeda, but actually I don't want it in Milkomeda. I want it in Cardano because maybe one of the DEXs are going to be like giving you rewards to provide liquidity for USDC, or maybe you want to do something else, and that's completely fine. So we are, for now, because Flame doesn't support Milkomeda yet natively, you will have to use an external webpage that's created by the core developers of Milkomeda to be able to move assets from Milkomeda to Cardano. I know that this is like 2 steps, which is kind of ugly because first you move from Ethereum to Milkomeda and then another different page from Milkomeda to Cardano. But there are like some projects, for example, Iagon, who are working in having like just one bridge that's going to allow you to move from Ethereum directly to Cardano.
All right. Okay. So at the moment, that user experience is probably still a little bit difficult for some users to jump on board and flow through that entire process. But it sounds like all the pieces are being worked on to actually make that happen, which is the key thing. And I love that you're taking the approach of that usability and making it as easy as possible for users to flow through. So you are thinking about it, just a couple more things need to be built on it.
Thank you. Yeah. And we mostly are like engineers. So we wanted to get this out, see that everything is working and continue like working on improvements and making this better because we launched Milkomeda, like all the teams connected, but it's not ready. Milkomeda is going to continue updating and even further. Right now, Milkomeda is a sidechain, but I will say that this is like phase 1 of Milkomeda. Milkomeda is going to have at least 3 phases, which are kind of cool. Hopefully, I'm not going to like too far from the main point, but phase 1 is a sidechain, which is pretty good. But phase 2 is improving Milkomeda even further. So the idea is that eventually, after some of the hard forks for Cardano, and when there's like a good fit, the idea will be to move Milkomeda, which is a sidechain, to be a rollup. What is a rollup? I'm going to try to just use like simple terms. So picture that you have Cardano, and a sidechain is a network which is on the side to Cardano. And a rollup is when a network move to be on the side, to be on top of Cardano. And this gives you like better security properties because a lot of the information is being written directly to Cardano. And that's going to be phase 2, which is like pretty cool. And is there a phase 3? Yes. The idea is that one of the ways to scale app that's been developed, and I'm very bullish, is everything related to zero knowledge proofs, which is like more advanced cryptography. And the idea is that a lot of these developments are being they're using EVM, so they're not compatible with chains, for example, like Cardano. But with Milkomeda, using it as a rollup, which is a rollup is a second layer solution, these CK solutions could interact with Cardano, doing a deployment and being like a layer 3 solution. So you can picture like a building, the first floor is Cardano, the second floor is Milkomeda, and the third floor could be like CK rollups that are going to be able to interact with Cardano by using Milkomeda as a sort of an adapter.
Wow, amazing. That's a really cool roadmap that you guys have laid out for yourself. I did want to avoid the whole ZK rollups conversation in this podcast episode. It will just balloons out. And I know a lot of people haven't even looked into it yet. There's a protocol, Orbits, that's looking into the ZK rollups for Cardano at the moment as well. So that's absolutely amazing that you guys are going down that path and doing all that for the Cardano ecosystem and for Milkomeda itself. It's building out a really cool tool set of things, which is absolutely amazing. And talking on tool sets as well, you're building out the side chain, which is really cool, so developers can move things over. What about the tools and other little bits and pieces so that developers are coming over from Ethereum, for example, and deploying on Milkomeda? How can they bridge over to Cardano? Have you built any tools for them, or are they going to have to go out and learn Haskell as well to integrate in Plutus smart contracts?
So we came up with this concept that's called wrap smart contracts. Right. What do this means? That basically, okay, I'm going to make an analogy that I just thought of, so you can call me and tell me that's a terrible analogy. So picture that Milkomeda is like the kitchen, and you're in a restaurant, and the restaurant is Cardano. So maybe all the cooks and all the people in the kitchen, they speak German. And we are, in the United States, we don't speak German. So there's going to be someone in the front that's going to be speaking German and also speak English. That's going to be translated, like what are the orders? And then when the orders they're going to grab the orders and put it in the right table. So the Rapid Smart Contract work a little bit similar to that. What that means that a lot of the code could be developed in Milkomeda and be in Milkomeda, but then there's some code that could be like deployed in Cardano, which is like a front-facing sort of like API. So wallet that maybe don't even understand how Milkomeda works, they can interact with this code in Cardano. Then this code does a call to the Milkomeda chain. Something gets processed, gets a response, it goes back to this like front-facing app, and that goes back to the user. So a user could be doing a swap within Milkomeda and not even know that they're interacting with Milkomeda. We are right now, Cardano is going through a lot of like upgrades. So, and it's not possible to have like the user experience that we're aiming to have with this process right now. So most likely we're going to try to add this like later on when with some of like the upcoming hard forks for Cardano.
Cool. Absolutely amazing. So you mentioned, I think you mentioned API there as well. So would it be as easy as one of the wallets connecting or a dApp connecting via an API and interacting with the wrapped smart contracts?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay. That makes things incredibly easy for a lot of developers, especially those that just don't want to learn Haskell or Plutus, or it's like me, it's just too time consuming to learn. Okay, wow. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, that really answers that question there.
Sometimes all the different solutions that different teams are created, sometimes someone thinks they are competitive, but actually most of them they are complementary. And for example, maybe this rapid smart contract technology is going to be like, actually it's going to be able to reach the user experience that we want once Hydra is out there. So maybe there's something there, or maybe some other technology that we can use to like actually make this fast. Because right now, if you want to do this and you send a transaction, it takes like 30 minutes or like an hour to complete. You're not to be so happy about it. So we are looking to actually have like a better user experience and being able to use smart contract in a way that it feels like almost exactly as like interact with like a full 100% native Bluetooth app.
That'd be really cool. It's at the moment when I'm playing around with DEXs on Cardano, I can see arbitrage opportunities. I can see. I look at one DEX and I look at the other and go, oh, if I trade the right amount here, I could make a nice profit, and I could do that back and forth all day. But I can't, because it's just too slow to get those orders executed at the moment. So I'm hoping for a lot of these scaling opportunities to come into play so that I can actually take advantage of the arbitrage and just have one single wallet and just flick between the couple of DEXs. That'd be amazing to actually have. Now, you also mentioned there Hydra. So a lot of people would have heard of Hydra, understand it's a L2 solution on Cardano as well, a level 2 solution. How does Milkomeda compare to Hydra? What are the differences there? And what? How are you actually going to leverage Hydra as well with Milkomeda? Like you kind of alluded to that. Can you explain the difference between the two and how they could actually complement each other?
So Hydra is this solution from IOHK. Like you mentioned, it's a layer 2 solution, but it works in base on this concept of state channels that was like developed in Bitcoin. So Hydra is like in many ways similar to the Lightning Network that's also developed in Bitcoin. So it can work like really fast. So for example, if I have a connection, for example, with Starbucks, I could go with a Cardano wallet to Starbucks and I can pay not in 1 second, not in 2 seconds, like milliseconds. Transaction confirm, like finalize, it's not going to change. And that's amazing. But there's like 2 trade-offs because in general, nothing is amazing in every single way. There's like some trade-off. So one of the trade-off from Hydra is that before you interacting with Hydra with other people, you need to have created like sort of like a group with them. So you can think of like maybe playing poker. If you're in a poker table, you cannot be like betting with another person in another poker table. Like it's different table. It just doesn't happen like that. Yeah. So Hydra is similar in that way. So if you want to interact with different group of people, you need to, in Cardano, create a new payment channel with all the people that you want to interact. And this comes to the second trade-off, which is, for example, let's create a DEX on Hydra. It's going to be super fast, super cheap, great. But the problem is that, again, this like sort of poker table analogy comes in. And if I create with you a payment, a Hydra head with like 8 more people. So we have 10 more people and we can trade super fast. We are like, oh my God, this is amazing. But then if we want to interact with someone else, it wasn't part of this group of people that created the Hydra head, and we cannot add that person. We need to create a new channel now with 11 people.
Gotcha.
And then if someone else, so that's like the trade-off for Hydra, that whoever you started like this sort of like group, which is called Hydra head, until the end of time, you're going to end with those people. So you need to be recreating new stuff. And for the smart contracts and stuff like that, sometimes it doesn't work that great.
Totally understand that. That's a very interesting analogy of it as well. It sounds like Hydra is more suitable for maybe enterprise setups, where it's from one large organization to another or something like that, where they can
for example, maybe you can create a channel between yourself and Coinbase, and Coinbase can have another channel with another entity. So you can interact with Coinbase and then they can sort of like redirect the payment. So maybe that could be like a way that DEXs and dApps could start working, but there needs to be like some creativity, and it's not like a direct implementation of like, oh, I just use Hydra and my dApp is going to work for everyone right away.
Yeah, okay. A lot more planning, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, there was one question from the community that came in, and this one was specifically around using the infrastructure at the moment, Flint Wallet to be exact. They're finding it a little bit slow at the moment for using it, and it may be because of the infrastructure behind it, the servers that run Flint Wallet. How are you guys looking at scaling all these different aspects? So you've got Milkomeda that you need to scale out as it grows, and also the infrastructure that you're building, the user experience, the Flint Wallet that you're building as well. So how are you scaling out things as the ecosystem grows out?
Yeah, so this was one of the issues that we saw a few months ago, that this specific tooling called Cardano dbSync is really helpful, but it's not like good for our case and for Flint and also for Milkomeda. So we started working with this new project called Audits. So we are very close to have an alternative to Cardano dbSync that for us is going to work like way 10x faster at least, or even maybe 50x faster.
Whoa.
So most of the scalability issues are going to be solved when we are able to like switch from Cardano dbSync to this new implementation based in Audits.
50 times faster. That's incredible. Okay. I'm looking forward.
We are like, we are not months away from this. We're like hopefully weeks away.
Wow. Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing that and how much faster that synchronization is going to happen. That's going to be really amazing.
And we are doing multiple developments in parallel, but sometimes all of them are complicated. It's like difficult to know which one is going to end when. And so we just decided to launch Milkomeda. And when this new approach is like ready, we're going to update like the way that it receives information, Milkomeda receives information from the chain, and also Flink how it interacts with the chain. But we're like super optimistic and super excited for this new approach.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. Okay, so in terms of developers coming into the ecosystem now, we're hoping for, I guess, an influx of users coming over to Milkomeda and using the chain, and more and more projects launching as you filter them through and whatnot. Is this the moment when we can say that Cardano's the EVM killer, the Ethereum killer?
I think I would never say that since like the very start. Maybe we could like be talking about that after like 6 months or like a year. I would like to see Milkomeda maybe as a roll-up on top of Cardano, and then I think it could be like much more interesting. I think like Milkomeda is like a great step, but as I was mentioning, Milkomeda is going to come like maybe in 3 different phases, and when we're like in phase 2, maybe migrated to phase 3, I think it's like maybe we could be like celebrating.
All right, almost there. Okay, save the champagne for right at the end. Celebrate.
We can
after.
drink it now and buy another one.
Now, one of the things that I always notice on the Twitter account for Milkomeda is that there's a in brackets, there's no token. So, projects usually have a token of some sort so they can raise funds and use that as part of their ecosystem and incentivize users. Now, so if you didn't have a token, you didn't go through ICO, you didn't go IDO, whatever it is, how are you guys funding all of this? Because you've got a big team of developers, a lot of people are contributing to this, but there's no funding from the community. How are you paying for all this to make it happen? And how are you going to make money in the future on all of this?
Yeah, so a lot of the protocols that we are working with are like proof of stake based protocols. So when you're moving assets, for example, from Cardano to Milkomeda, some of the assets are going to be frozen, and the idea is that those assets can get delegated to stake pools. And we're not going to be taking that money, but the idea is to get like a small commission, like the same way that the stake pools get the commission from the users. And the idea is that could be like a good inflow of money to fund part of like the development, and also to fund like the validators that are running the Milkomeda network, which they're incurring like multiple costs. And in general, like we are of the philosophy of build something that has value and then try to think how you can like monetize it, right? That, okay, let's have a token. What type of project can have a token? So I think like most of like the projects right now, they start thinking about, okay, I want a token. Now, what else can I do? Trying that, I'm going to do this. Is a token like the right fit, or like?
I was also alluding to like initial seed funding that you guys got as well. So I think you guys got a lot of seed funding to help kickstart the project as well. How did you go about getting all the seed funding and launching the project with those VCs essentially?
There is a lot of like interest in EVM to be able to bootstrap this other ecosystem. So a lot of those VCs are like very related to those ecosystems. So they see like not just value in investing in us, but they see value that they have invested in other startups in those specific ecosystems, and bringing EVM is going to help like boosting those ecosystems.
So I was coming from that. Yeah, I've also noticed that you guys have launched an accelerator program yourself to help developers go through the Milkomeda ecosystem. Can you talk a little bit about the Milkomeda Accelerator and how that's going to work, what type of projects you're going to onboard in there, and what the whole process is?
Yeah, so the Milkomeda Accelerator is this program that we are doing with SOSV, which is like this investment firm that's like actually pretty big. They have invested in over 1,000 projects. their asset under management, I think, is close to $1 billion. And they know what they're doing. They have China Accelerator, IndieBio, MOX, dLabs, which is based for blockchain. So they bring a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, which is like great. And basically, for the first batch of startups, we're going to be focusing on startups that want to grow in Cardano. And we are going to be coaching them how to grow. We are going to be giving them a small grant. But if they're performing well, most likely they're also going to get connected to investors from like the network from SOSV, which is like pretty good. And there is a lot of things sometimes related to startup and growing a business that's not just the technology, but it's like how to set up a company, how to do hiring, how to do accounting, how to for example, what type of like negotiation I do with my employees and
all the
so many
stuff.
things that. And if you're like in biotech, or if you're in blockchain, or if you are in like SaaS, it's always the same. So
yeah,
a lot of that knowledge from SOSV can be moved from across different industries, which is like pretty helpful.
Yeah, very, very cool. I know, like coming from a developer point of view, for example, you just want to go in and build, and all these other things such as hiring, payroll, tax, accounting, bookkeeping, and all those other business aspects that you need to do on a daily basis. If you can get help in regards to that, Accelerator can definitely put you in the right direction.
Yeah, and also you're going to receive help from me, Seba, and other people in the team that we understand Cardano quite well, and also we work on Milkomeda, so also we understand Milkomeda quite well. So I think that's like a pretty good like help also in the technical side of things.
Very much so. Okay. So for anyone that's interested in Milkomeda, if you're not convinced already, check out all the resources and everything in the description down below. Check out the Accelerator program as well if you're interested in moving over to the Milkomeda sidechain and interacting with Cardano as well. Nico, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast and learning about all these different aspects and the Accelerator program as well. Congratulations again on the launch.
Thank you.
You must be a little bit tired.
Maybe a little bit.
Absolutely brilliant. And hopefully we'll have you on again so we can learn more about these L2 solutions, the roll-ups and the ZK roll-ups as you progress through and develop them later.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay, thank you very much. So huge thank you to Nico for joining me on this episode. I know, Nico, you're extremely busy at the moment, especially when you're launching right now. So it's much appreciated that you managed to take out some time and actually do this interview. Now, if anyone wants to learn more about anything dcSpark, anything Milkomeda, and anything around the Milkomeda Accelerator program, please check out the links down below. You can find all the references there for you, and you can find out exactly how to be a part of this ecosystem. I'll be doing a lot more video tutorials around this as well. Now, just as a disclosure, this is not a paid interview or anything. This is just something I was quite interested in and wanted to learn more about myself. And I just wanted to provide more content for you guys in the Cardano ecosystem. If you do like this type of content, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, and click the notification bell, and you hear more from me soon.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debating.